There were no single barrels harmed in the making of this video. What were my top 5 bourbons of 2022? Let's find out. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Saucy Shane. This is my top 5 bourbons of 2022. There's some bangers on here. I'm going to get some slack because some are allocated, hard to find, blah de blah. Listen, there's all kind of stuff that's hard to find. Cooper's Craft 100, one of the best budget bourbons out there. I cannot find here in my market in Tennessee, nowhere. Maybe the hype got out, I don't really know. But different markets are different in every region, so bring the heat, I don't really know. But we're gonna start by 3 honorable mentions. I'm gonna have a top 5 and I got 3 honorable mentions. Let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna get into my 3 honorable mentions of 2022, but first, what's in my Norland whiskey glass that I'm sipping on? This is actually my favorite bourbon of 2022. I'll tell you what it is at the end of this video. It's not in my top 5. Like I said in the beginning, no single barrels were harmed in the making of this video. I didn't pick any single barrels. I got a lot of different ones this year. We all know single barrels are different. They vary. You can find a honey barrel from time to time or something, but I definitely found one for sure. I didn't pick it as my top bourbon of the year in this top 5 list because I feel like it'd be biased, and to be honest, it's even harder to find than some of these allocated ones. What is it? We'll have to find out at the end of it. But first, I'm gonna take a little sip of it, wet my whistle, and then we'll get into my 3 honorable mentions of 2022. Cheers, y'all. Whew. That's good. All right, so this first one is very hard for me to put on this honorable mention list. I did blinds after blind after blind. This one it's got its own nuances about it. I love it. I had to mention it in honorable mention. It comes from one of my favorite distilleries on the market right now, Old Elk. It's the Infinity Blend 2022. I absolutely love the double wheat that come out, 107 proof. I had it early on, one of my top 3. This to me is like the double wheat on steroids. I actually really love it. Like I said, after blind, it kind of just fell short to some of these other ones, but I had to mention it in the honorable mention list. The next one I got was also another hard one to put on the list in the honorable mentions, and this is Larceny Batch C922, one of my favorite pours of the year, but just fell short in these blinds. The top 5 I did last night, and that's how I got the ranking, and I'm ready to sit down and tell y'all what these are, so we're going to do it right now. But Larceny C922, a very good barrel proof wheated bourbon out there. I actually really love this one. I had A, B, and C from last year. Wasn't really impressed, but the A, B, and C from this year, all of them are really good. The C kind of stood out to me, so it's definitely gets an honorable mention list for me. The third one, not so hard for me to put in the honorable mention list, comes from Bardstown Bourbon Company, the Disco 8. Now, I haven't found the Disco 9 yet. I know it's in a lot of people's top 10 lists and whatever. Bardstown 8's a very good pour, and it's another one that fell very short in the blinds. It just kind of fell flat. I look for different flavors. I guess you'll find out when we get into my top 5 what the kind of flavors that kind of what I'm interested in and this and that. But this one, it just kind of fell short in the blinds, and also my top come off. I don't know, I think a lot of people's had that problem before. The cork didn't break, it's just the top come off, and for $150, $140 bourbon, you really shouldn't have that problem. Bardstown, you need to check that out. Get that fixed. But a very good pour. So that rounds out my honorable mentions, my 3 honorable mentions. Now it's time to get into my top 5 bourbons of 2022. Let's have another sip. Oh, hey, you caught me. Now let's get into the top 5, in my opinion, of the bottles that I had in 2022. I tasted a lot of amazing samples. We know Todd and Andy sent me a lot of bottles. I won a lot of bottles, a lot of samples from 21090. Did an awesome advent calendar before Christmas and the whole month of December. Tried a lot of amazing samples. But we all know these top lists are bottles that we got, we bought, we found on the shelf, we obtained somehow, we bought from buddies, whatever, you know, bought online, we obtained ourselves, hunted down, and got, and have on our shelf. So what I have down here is my scribbled down drunken notes, tasting notes that I got from last night's blind that I did in these top 5. So we're going to start with my top 5, the number 5 on the list. It's a shocker, and it's highly allocated, hard to find, I get it. It's the Four Roses LE 2022. By itself, I love it. It's won some 3-way blinds. When I found out this was number 5 on my list in last night's blind, and we all know different nights will fall different ways, but it just fell really short to me. The notes I got on the nose was sweet oak. I got a little ethanol. Comes in a little over 109 proof. I'm very stoked to have this on my shelf. I'm very stoked to have it to pour, like I said, by itself. And I may put it in some more blinds later on against some different things. I don't know. I love Four Roses. It's got 4 different recipes, 4 or 5 different recipes on this. Some of them's 14, 15, 20 years old, I think, in this. And you can definitely taste it. The tasting notes I had was very complex, berries and oak. Very sweet. But it just kind of fell flat on the finish. But that's number 5 on my 2022 bourbons of the year. So we'll get into what's next right now. All right, next on the list, number 4, my bourbons 2022. This was a shocker to me because it won quite a few 3-way blinds to get to where it's at. But I don't know if it was the proof or what was going on, but it was kind of blowing my palate out, just to be honest with you. An awesome ride, an awesome experience, and a great bourbon, especially for the price. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C922. It's a very good 12-year-old barrel proof Elijah Craig Heaven Hill. We all know about it. It's awesome. It's blowed some minds this year. The B522 was awesome too. In the 2-way blind between the two, this one kind of shined, a little bit more proof points. But in last night's blind, it come in 4th. An amazing pour. This top 5, the blind last night was very hard to do. Number 3 on my list, we're just going to roll on through these because I don't want to make this video forever long. Not a bunch of edits. Number 3 on my list is a shocker too. I love this. A lot of these I didn't get a chance to review, but this one I definitely did. And I loved it when I reviewed it. It's the Knob Creek 18. I left it in its fancy little box. I like that presentation there. 30-year anniversary celebration. Knob Creek 18 coming in 100 proof. To be not cast strength, it really holds its own in blinds. Like another one of these. It's very strong, very good. My tasting notes on it, on the nose, tons of marshmallow, vanilla, sweet oak. You'd think at 18 years old it'd be over oaked. Not really. I can't wait to put it up against that Elijah Craig 18. It's a single barrel. It's really good. And I got from our buddy Joe Graves. Thanks, Joe. But I didn't want to put any single barrels in here. This one right here, one of my absolute favorites. I'm glad it made it through. I'm glad it got a good showing. 3rd place. On the palate, I got vanilla oak, well-aged, matches the nose. Very nice finish, thick and creamy. Very good. It's a little pricey on some markets. You can find it for about 160, 180 bucks. I'd definitely snag one up. Maybe grab 2 and bunker one. It's a very good pour. Got 3rd on my list. Now, 2nd. And this was where it got really close for me. These top 3 was very close. This whole blind was mind-blowing. I sat there with my head in my hands like this a lot last night. 2nd on my list, one of my all-time favorites, Calumet 16, Matt Porter's number 1, ADHD Whiskey's number 1 whiskey of the year for good reasons. This is my number 2, coming in 106 proof. Fantastic. The tasting notes I got on it, on the nose, we got sugar cubes and oak, best nose of all. All 5 of these, this one definitely had the best nose, I thought. On the palate, I got matches nose, 3 exclamation points. with a little tobacco twist. I got a little bit of if you close your eyes, you got a little bit of tobacco twist on it, almost like a cigar batch. Very, very good. This thing is opened up. This is actually my second bottle. Got one more bunkered. I hate to admit it, but I love this bourbon. I'm glad it finished real high. Second on my list. I got on the finish, flavors linger, and they do. They linger for a long time without the big burn. I struggle with heartburn a lot, and some of these real high proof whiskeys will give me a Kentucky hug that it's not real pleasurable. It's a good experience, but it's not real pleasurable. This one is almost perfect to me. Almost perfect. But what come in number one on SAUCY'S top 5 bourbons of 2022? This was actually one of the first unicorns that I've ever hunted, ever. And when I found this year, I was ecstatic. And to find out that it's number one on my list, a lot of people didn't like this batch this year. Being the first one I've ever had, I really enjoyed it. Russell's 13, Wild Turkey Goodness. Fantastic pour, barrel proof, 114 proof. I love it. It went toe to toe to some heavy hitters. I know it's hard to find. I know a lot of these are hard to find. You can find Calumet 16, Knob Creek 18 on the shelves pretty regularly. I know this, the Four Roses, some of them you can't find. I'm very stoked to have it. Like I said, when I just started this journey, the first batch of Russell's 13 was one of my big unicorns. I wanted it on my shelf for a long time. When I seen this blue label on the shelf, I had to have it. And last night it dominated at the end. It just plumb dominated once it opened up. On the nose, I got green apple, cherry cola. To be fair, all 5 of these in the blind last night had a little bit of a fizzy cola effect to them. And I think that's to do with the high age. Maybe that's something I pick up on high age, well-aged bourbon. A lot of these I put on the palate, well-aged. This one on the nose, I got a lot of green apple, cherry cola. On the palate, I got sweet oak. Matches the nose, 100%. And a little twist of mint got on it too. Really enjoyed it. Packs a punch on the finish. I got hands down number one. Once it opened up and I sat there and retasted back and forth through these, Russell's 13 was my number one bourbon of the year in the blind. But what is in my glass, you might ask? Like I said, I didn't want to put any single barrels on the list, but this one right here blows my mind. I don't want to be biased, but this is a store pick that I actually had my hands in picking at the store where I work at in Tennessee. And it is the Heaven's Door single barrel cask strength coming in 122.5 proof. I love this thing. It's fantastic. This is my 3rd bottle. I got one bottle number 3 on the shelf that I'll never open up. It checks all boxes to me. You get a little bit of oak. Fred Minnick says it sometimes. He don't like a lot of overly oak bourbons. I like when the oak stands out, but he don't like it when it's the forefront. I get that. This is a kind of a balance of all worlds. Oak is an accent. You get a lot of the fruit. It's like banana pudding with a little twist of oak, caramelized spice on it. It's very good. It's almost 8 years old. Our store pick. I'm a little biased. Like I said, if you want one of these bottles, you'll have to come down to Tennessee, look up Cork and Bottle, and get you one of these while supplies last. At $55 a bottle for a barrel strength bourbon, almost 8 years old. In today's market, like I said, it checks all boxes, even on the budget part. I'm gonna have a little sip of it right now. I'm getting thirsty thinking about it. I got some bottles of this going out to some good close friends of mine. I want them to try it. And I cannot wait to see what they think about it. It's fantastic. Like I said, I didn't want to put it really number one, but it's actually won some of these blinds, even with the Russells, with the Four Roses. It offers something that's unique, that you don't get. I like an old, well-aged bourbon. Just kind of falls right in the middle. An 8-9-year-old bourbon to me is kind of perfect if it can hold the aspects of the grain and the oak and not let. I kind of see what Fred Minnick says, but said in the blind last night, Russell's 13 won, but this one right here, this single barrel Heaven's Door, is by far my favorite of 2022. I highly recommend you come check it out in Middle Tennessee. Look up Cork and Bottle. Message me, email me, I'll hook you up. I'll send you the directions. This thing right here is banging. But guys, I'll leave y'all to it. That's been my top 5 bourbons of 2022. Stay safe out there, and until next time, stay saucy, but don't get too saucy. Drink responsibly, share with friends. Cheers. Love y'all. Why are you so good?